Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. All right, well, welcome to the Flagstick Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Botter, and I am here with the other host, Scott McLeod. And obviously, the Flagstick Podcast is sponsored again this week by our good friends at TaylorMade Golf. What if the golf ball you're playing isn't the number one golf ball for you? Meet the all-new TP5 and TP5X from TaylorMade, whether you prefer the softest 5-layer tour ball in TP5 or the fastest, now that's a half club longer in TP5X. You'll be playing the golf ball that performs like it was built just for you. Available in white, yellow, and picks. You can also personalize it with my symbol. No matter which you choose, every TP5, TP5X is designed to help your game. Head to tailormadegolf.ca to find the number one ball for you. Let's get started by talking about Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Follow us there. Please subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And we really do encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us, and click the notification bell to make sure you never miss a single episode. And you will find out even more why you should be doing that later in this show.
More than just episodes.
Exactly. It's not just about the podcast over there, people.
That's right. Exactly.
On the front nine here, we're going to catch up on some of the latest news because there's a bunch of stuff that's been going on. So we'll bring you up to speed on that. Yeah. And on the back nine, we're going to share some news about a new project, a new venture that we're embarking on, and discuss the changing face of golf content and how it's delivered. So let's get to the front nine, Scotty Mac.
Yes, sir.
Get right into it. Let's get to the front nine, presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season is here, so don't wait. Get on the wait list for memberships and leagues. Purchase some golf game passes to start the season and save compared to regular green fees. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop for those now. All right.
You got it.
All right. Let's get into the OVGA Field Day. Ottawa Valley Golf Association. The full results of the first field day of the season is on flagstick.com, which was held June 4th at a Equinell Golf Club.
On a hot day.
Some pretty familiar faces, because we're showing their faces here. Some pretty familiar names topping these leaderboards, eh?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, the full results are up on the website, but your winners in your various categories: Terry DeLewis, Brendan Kuffner, who played in the Flagstick Open just recently, so obviously got some experience and maybe helped them out there at Equinell.
We'd like to think so.
We'd think so. Yeah, we're not that we're taking credit, Brendan, but
yes,
we're taking credit. Sherry Rodenkirk, Frank Pecora, and then in the senior men's, there was actually a tie: Perry Frieda and Dave Ross, familiar names to us, but they are familiar faces to us, just not on screen obviously right now. Sure. But good to see that the field day is kicking off. OVGA, their next men's field day I believe is June 17th, but they're getting their season in full swing now, which is makes for happy golfers. There's 120 players out in that field in that heat on Tuesday.
Crazy. And we know all about that heat on Tuesday, which again we'll get to later.
Yeah, my ears I think are still burnt.
Yeah. However, couple of really cool pieces of news here, and on opposite ends of the spectrum or the scale as far as maybe the expansiveness of
investment level, maybe.
And the investment level and whatnot, but each carries with it the same sort of result, which is changing and improving the experience for your customers. And for you, their customers. The first one we're going to talk about is Falcon Ridge Golf Club, which becomes the first public facility in the Ottawa region to add TrackMan range. Also happens to be the first and only facility in Eastern Ontario, public or private, that has TrackMan range.
Yeah.
And now the significance of what this does is you go to the driving range. We already know the technology is all around us. Royal Ottawa also has TrackMan range. We know Kevin Haim has Top Tracer range out there. But what this does, TrackMan range, you can track all the statistics you want on your shots and things like that. And that's really important for for those that want to know, how they're hitting the golf ball and to compare it from session to session. But you can also play courses It's
Yep.
a simulator. I mean, TrackMan sims are all over the place now.
Hmm.
This is just a TrackMan sim outside, so you can play golf courses and you can also play games and stuff. Like it's not just about elite statistics.
Yeah, people should just know, it's a radar device that's tracking the golf balls. These are large radars. You'll see them, maybe on PGA Tour or stuff like this, but it tracks the golf ball the whole length of the range, which is pretty cool. And like you said, I mean, this is just not about, the golf geek that's looking at all their apex height and their ball speed. You can get all that stuff. But this is for families and people that are having fun as well. Games like Bullseye and Hit It, which is a long drive contest. It's just a way to enhance the range and sort of look at the future of what ranges are going towards. They're not just the same old place where you just grab a bucket of balls and slap a few shots out there. For some people, that's fine. That's all they
Mm-hmm.
want from an entertainment level. But we have so many new golfers coming in. And as you said, trackmans, radars, indoor simulators are all over the place now. And, people can see that all the time when we do our indoor golf directories. But the people nowadays are used to that. The emerging golfer, the
Mm-hmm.
20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds. I mean, they grow up with technology. So having this as an enhancement of the range is another appeal to them and going to be for their kids as well. These are kids that grow up on screens and watching sports and playing games and things like that. So if there's other things that can kind of retain your attention at the range and make it exciting to go to, and when you mention, hey, let's go to this, oh well, that'll be fun to do, rather than, do I really want to go do that? It's just that much better, and good on Falcon Ridge for making this investment.
Yeah. Now, essentially, what they've done for those that have ever not have been to Falcon Ridge is that one side of their tee line is their driving range that it's always
Right.
been.
Yeah.
The other side of their tee line has now been reconstructed or renovated to accommodate for the TrackMan sims. There's a brand new tee line put in there. You'll see the screens. You'll see the radar.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a little newer looking, but it's a separate. So you book that, as far as booking your stall. And
Yeah.
on
You
the
do
other
it
side,
hourly basis
if
or
you
a
want to
half
just
hour
hit
basis.
balls, go to
Yeah.
the other side and just hit
Right.
balls. So it's
Yep.
whatever you want to do. You don't have to be forced into one or the other, but hey, if you're there, go and do it.
Yeah.
Okay. On the other end of things,
Hmm.
and because we were recently there, this is sort of
Right.
part and parcel of the whole thing, but adding another element to the experience for your customer, Castleview Golf and Country Club, just down the 417 East End, east of Ottawa, has upgraded their driving range tee line area to include a fully turfed surrounding. So it really enhances they have the hitting mats, really nice hitting mats, by the way, that were sitting on gravel before.
Hmm.
Okay, so that looked better than them sitting on grass or dirt, I suppose. But
Sure.
now,
Level. Yeah.
now this is next level look. Like this is aesthetically very pleasing to go up there. Looks nice, green turf, surrounding the mats, and it just looks so good. And the driving range is actually cut really nice with the stripes and
Yeah.
stuff coming right back to you. So,
Yeah, it was
um,
nice and clean. I think the
yeah,
one thing that was funny that, we didn't have a lot of consumers that were there because the range was sort of closed. They did the cutting and we were doing what we are doing,
just
which we'll
for
get to.
us.
And yeah, which great. We appreciate that. But as soon as we came back and we saw one of the consumers was there, a golfer was there, he mentioned right away. He said, I don't go to the range much, but this makes me want to come back here and hit balls. So that tells you right away, if you get a consumer that doesn't want to practice
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't like to come to the range, but aesthetically it's better, they're not getting, pea gravel up onto the mats, you're not getting dust up on the mats, it's not, ding up clubs, it's not going to be dusty. It's that level of attention that golf courses, when they're starting to put, kind of investment back into their facilities, people notice.
Oh, no
And
question about it.
people notice for sure.
And this is what needs this is one of the things that we've talked about this on the podcast before, about what golf courses need to do year after year long term to be viable, to be sustainable. And it's
Hmm.
not just about oh, we're investing this in the facility, we're investing this in the facility. You got to invest in things that enhance and improve the user experience.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things. So putting in a new cart fleet is fantastic, which they've also done out there.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
seats are crazy. But doing these kinds of little things, when years ago they changed the 14th green,
Hmm.
um, that was a big undertaking for them, but
Sure.
it was a smart thing to do. They knew it was the right thing to do. And the added bonus now is they got an extra green up top on the hill there by the parking lot that people can use to video things.
Yeah, and get make it for a practice facility. I think it's just I think it's the thing of that when and it's like anything from a business standpoint, if you know that the people that are operating the business care and are paying attention and are doing things to be better each time, it sets a tone for the repeat customer. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
person that goes to a place the first time, they're not going to know anything different. But if the person has been going there a long time and they see those extra enhancements going on, it gives them more aspiration to go back to that facility. And then if you're that operator and you want to start, raising your fees, which obviously you have to as expenses go up and inflation and so forth over time, it's a lot easier to justify if you've actually been doing some things
Mm-hmm.
on a constant basis, and the consumer doesn't resist quite as much if they know those things have been getting better and better, and it's just not the same old thing.
Yeah, exactly. And as you will find out in the second half in the back nine of this very podcast, we practice what we preach. Okay.
Exactly. All
So
right.
let's talk about the RBC Canadian Open. Um, Another great finish to the RBC
Yeah,
Canadian Open. Maybe not quite the
but not as
excitement of a
dramatic.
72-foot putt and the tackle on the 18th green,
Yeah.
but um, still very exciting finish. Robert McIntyre of Scotland wins the 2024 RBC Canadian Open. Played at the Hamilton Country Club in Ancaster, Ontario. This golf course for any kind of Open Championship or any kind of
Yeah.
championship is just crazy good,
Yeah.
crazy challenging, crazy difficult. And I'm going to tell you right now, having been to the golf course and you've played it, I've been there a couple of times. That shot that Robert McIntyre had to hit on 18 when he needed to make par
Yeah.
to win, like not he didn't have a shot to play with there. He needed
No.
to make par to win, and
Yeah.
to hit the shot that he did into the 18th green. Come on, like
Yeah.
that's clutch in every way possible. Despite drones flying over his head, clutch.
Yeah, the thing there is that 18 is the highest stroke average relative to par for that golf course. So it is a tough test to end. Ben Griffin was at 15 under. He was at 16. McIntyre had to stay there, obviously, or going to go into a playoff. And, a few things played in that narrative as well. I mean, being from Scotland, a lot of ties with Canada, with the Commonwealth. It was cool with his dad, who was got brought in for the week. Robert had Bob, as everyone calls him, had split with his caddy. Had split with his caddy the week before. Asked his dad to come over and loop for him, which that is a difficult loop. I mean, there's a lot of hills.
Oh
That is
yeah.
a tough walk around that golf course, and for his dad, a superintendent over in Scotland, just to come over and do that with his son, I just added um, a whole other level to the narrative there. And while he would have been a somewhat popular winner, I think just the extra story out of there added so much more to it. Unfortunately, they had some poorer weather on Sunday, but overall, it was a solid week. Started out with a lot of rain, but they didn't really have spectators in there. But in the end, I think the numbers are going to be over 130,000 for the week. I think Golf Canada is going to, and the RBC is going to say, this is pretty successful, and hopefully that carries through to next year to TPC
Yeah,
Toronto.
yeah. Very
I
much
know,
looking forward to that.
yeah, I know we both love that facility. They've done a lot of upgrades there, upgrade to the North Course. We're hoping, obviously, that RBC extends their sponsorship. It sounds like their CEO had some fairly strong comments afterwards about very positive about the week. So hopefully they're close to an extension as far as that negotiation, and then that this event can continue to be you know it's our national championship, and it's an
Yeah,
open championship.
exactly.
Um,
Purest form of championship golf right there, open.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to put up the money and go out and try a qualifier can get into the field. And you got to you got to golf your ball. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And you know,
There's a few people that, I saw Dan Rappaport had a tweet and a few different people or whatever. They're going, oh man, this event's really cool. The Canadian crowd's awesome, has a great vibe. Oh, maybe it should be a signature event.
no,
No, it's a national championship. It's an open championship. You wouldn't make the US Open or the Open Championship
nope.
a signature event with a
Sorry, Dan,
closed,
bad idea.
yeah, with a closed field. And, he got corrected fairly quickly on that. It already has what it has. And I understand signature event, you'd have a much stronger field and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But do they really need that?
I'd rather have more of this than a slightly stronger field, and frankly, stronger field. We
Yeah.
had Rory McIlroy in the field.
Yeah.
We
There's
had
still
Tommy Fleetwood in the field. Like
exactly.
what are you looking for?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Not all the stars are going to play every single week. And
no,
that's just
doesn't matter what you do. If you make it a signature event, sure, they might come out and play, but then what gets sacrificed down the road?
Right.
Doesn't don't need it. I mean,
No.
now we had 28 plus one Canadians in the field,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not all 28 plus one made the cut and
Sure.
finished up high. Unfortunately for Mackenzie Hughes, despite being tied for the lead at one point in this tournament, and he faltered a little bit.
Yeah.
You
He
can
was definitely
speculate why
disappointed.
or whatever. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. Corey
No.
Connors elevated a little bit. Ended up finishing a couple shots ahead of Mac. Taylor Pendrith was right in there. Silverman was right in there. Svensson was right in there. Creighton was right in there. And Bateman and Hearn were a little further down the list, but and unfortunately, Hadwin didn't make the cut. So, and it would have been great if Mackenzie Hughes had been putting for the win on 18
Oh
to
yeah.
see if
Oh
Hadwin
yeah.
actually stayed off the
Tackled.
green or if he put his
Yeah.
badge on. But great event for Canadian golfers that participated. Good strong finishes. Can't wait to see how things shape up for next year at TPC Toronto. That is going to be that facility, those courses. Like this is going to be so cool. I mean, I can't wait to see it.
That North Course has really been tailored towards this.
Yeah.
Again, we're always talking about the future, and there's always going to be the jump right away. People are like, oh, that's 45 minutes out there or whatever. There's some criticism as well for people going, well, just make it the Ontario Open and get it over with. Well, guess what? There's only been 9 Canadian Opens out of the 113 that have been outside of Ontario and Quebec. The reality is this is a functioning event for RBC and Golf Canada from a partnership standpoint that has to make money.
Yep.
So,
traffic is important. You can't put it in some small town in Saskatchewan. And I don't mean disrespect to Saskatchewan.
No, not at all. But
it's got to have traffic and
it's got to have it's got to be for the corporations. It's got logistics. It's for the TV. I mean, this is not a U.S. Open where it's got a $50 million a year TV deal. So for Golf Canada, this is very important to fund and do run a lot of other programs. So yeah, I'm sorry, people. Unfortunately, the logistics don't work just to run around. Yeah, we have great golf courses around the country, but that doesn't mean it's suitable to host a PGA Tour event.
Exactly. Okay, LPGA ShopRite this week, full Canadian contingent on hand for that one. Brooke Henderson, Motomi LeBlanc, Savannah Gruel, Elena Sharp, Maddie Zurich. And Zurich coming off of a big win at the Texas Women's Open. So it should be, another great professional golf event for Canadians. We'll have to see how our Canadian women fare at the LPGA ShopRite this week.
Yeah, and there's some momentum here for most of the players there. Maddie hasn't had a lot of play on the tour this year, despite having some status, but getting that win in Texas, where she also lives. Great. Motomi just made the cut in the U.S. Women's Open. Unfortunately, Brooke didn't make the cut at the U.S. Women's Open, but she's a previous winner here in 2022. Got an exemption here as an amateur in 2015 and played well. And Elena Sharp as well is coming off a T7 at the Colorado Women's Open. So yeah, there's some positive things here. Seaview Golf Course, fantastic facility. And we're looking forward to seeing what the results are there for our contingent of Canadian LPGA Tour players.
Exactly. Okay, last thing before we have to take a break, we want to talk about Ashton McCulloch of Kingston, who has qualified for next week's U.S. Open. Now, this is pretty exciting considering Ashton just finished playing the RBC Canadian Open. I'm sure he didn't get have the results that he was hoping for, but what a great experience that he then took and put it into the final qualifier, Canadian qualifier for the U.S. Open, and put up like 8 under, 134, and qualified at the Cherry Hill Golf Club in Ridgeway, Ontario, and is now in the field for the U.S. Open at Pinehurst and gets his second consecutive PGA Tour start. I mean, for him,
you go from playing in your first PGA Tour event. He got in the field the RBC Canadian Open as the Canadian Amateur winner. Had his first win this past winter for NCAA. He's a incoming senior here at Michigan State. Big deal, going to play a major. He's got some experience at Pinehurst. He played the North and South Amateur there previously. But we know from being at this golf course, it is no joke.
No joke at all.
And especially for a major, who knows what it's going to be like, if it's going to be super crispy or otherwise. But this is going to be a heck of a U.S. Open to follow. And, just having that storyline with him as that amateur in with the other Canadian pros that have made it into the field, got a lot to follow at Pinehurst number 2.
And let's face it. I mean, the pressure of making a decent up and down chip shot on the 18th at Pinehurst can really get to some people.
Yeah, some people can even shank it. Anybody in this podcast?
There was a lot of people on that patio.
Yeah, there were.
There were a lot of people, and they were drinking brandy
and they were
wine, and they were not impressed with your chip.
It's hey now. Hey,
if you can't throw your friends under the bus, what can you do?
Yeah.
No, sorry, it was my chip. I have been known to do it. I just did not want to do it while people were watching me chip on the 18th green at Pinehurst.
Yeah, it's a little unnerving that people get out there. Deuce, which is their restaurant on the back, the patio is right there behind the 18th green at the number 2 course at Pinehurst, and it's definitely unnerving. I mean, you're nervous enough as it is playing this venue, but it's more difficult when you have spectators there for sure.
I'm sure that the PGA Tour pros and others who qualified will do much better than I did.
Yeah, including Corey Connors, Adam Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, Adam Svensson, Taylor Pendrith, Nick Taylor, and then our amateur Ashton McCullough, who plays out of Cataraqui.
Be exciting. Yeah, very exciting. Can't wait. Okay, we got to take a break. Scotty Mac, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to get into discussing what it is that we were doing out at Castlefield Golf and Country Club on Tuesday, and we're also going to talk about the changing face of golf content, typically our own, or particularly our own journey, and how consumers have changed and so on. So we're going to get into that on the back nine, but we do have to take a break. You are listening to the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Motter and Scott McLeod.
Why play the all-new TaylorMade TP5 and 5X? Because your ball should be longer, like half a club longer. Your ball should be more consistent from the fairway. Your ball should feel softer for better control around the greens. But most of all, your ball should perform like it was built just for you. Play the number 1 ball for you, the all-new TP5 and 5X, only from TaylorMade.
All right, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. He's Scott McLeod. We're going to get at this. Back nine, presented by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. 27 holes of fun and challenging golf at great rates. Falcon Ridge Golf Club is offering golfing experience you can't avoid, and the experience got just better by building the first TrackMan range facility in Eastern Ontario. TrackMan Range is all about exciting, easy-to-use features that provide the ultimate range experience for every golfer at every level. That's practice, games, and virtual golf all in one spot. To book tee times at Falcon Ridge or to book one of their 10 TrackMan range bays, visit falconridgegolf.ca. Exciting. Exactly what we talked about off the top of the show.
Yeah.
Little did we know that they were the sponsor of the back nine too this week.
There you go.
How crazy is that? Nonsense.
What a coincidence.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm really excited for them. They do a lot of great things. They built a much better clubhouse than the one that they originally had, and then they put in the TrackMan Sims, and like they've got so much going on out there, year-round facility basically now. Like it's pretty awesome, and love the
Yeah.
Raceview Club, the Raceview golf course.
Yeah, I do too. Actually, it's kind of funny because I have had a few people over the years kind of ask about that, and unfortunately, I think we have some people that sort of dismiss 9-hole golf courses.
No
But
way.
I've
Do
had
not.
more fun playing Raceview than I would possibly imagine. But I think it leads into kind of what we're talking about, though.
Yes.
What they're doing is adapting to the changing golfer that's out there, the changing market.
Mhm.
And the Spratt family have been doing that over the years, and it's incumbent upon all industries, including our own, to really recognize what's going on out there in the golf world and the people that are playing the game, and kind of tailor what they're doing towards that.
Okay, so should we get into the discussion of the changing face of golf content, or should we lead into this
Well, we can lead into with
by
it. Well,
talking
yeah.
about what we're doing? So we either
Okay.
lead into it or we wrap up.
Okay. Well, let's lead. Why don't we just
You're
share
way
what
too
we're
serious
doing?
looking right now.
I know.
It's
I
like
need more coffee.
loosen it up a little bit,
I
please.
think if we describe kind of what we're doing and maybe even
Okay.
our own journey, and I think that leads into
Well,
what
our
people are
journey's been
seeing out
something.
there. Yeah, well, almost 3 decades here, so
Crazy.
us old
Can
boys.
anybody imagine that we've been doing this for almost 30 years?
Yeah,
this is 20.
but not doing the same thing, which is
No,
always
that's
good
the
to
thing.
see, right?
Everything is constantly evolving and changing in this industry.
Yeah.
And we are, as far as golf content goes, okay, so from a media perspective, the mainstay of what Flagstick has been for 20, 25 plus years. What are we now, Frank? It's
We're
like,
in year
oh my
28
God, 28.
or year 29.
Oh my
29?
God.
Yeah, anyway, something like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
This started as a 24 page, for those on video watching us on YouTube, you can see that right behind me. I've commented on it before as the big question mark. 24-page newsprint, black and white, a little bit of color on the one signature magazine. And
Sure.
the focal point of it was always the news. It
Yeah.
was me driving around covering tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament, taking photo after photo of tournaments, sprinkled in with a little bit of equipment, a little bit of travel, a little bit of trivia in this case. And that was it. Like I was all over the place all the time, covering events. And that was the catalyst, but that was the thing. That was the theme of the magazine for years.
Yeah, and that was
And
sort of reflected what the time was, right?
yeah. And we did that for a very long time, and we still do that, but different. And even that part of it evolved over the years, where we went to less tournaments because, I mean, frankly, it's hard to do with the number of people that we have working here.
Yep.
It's expensive as heck, and it got more and more expensive as the cost of gas went up. When you've
Paper.
got 2 or 3 vehicles out there doing stuff, it just, like, paper costs go up. You're switching printers, you're changing. Anyway, that to say, we evolved, and whether it was forced on us earlier because of the whole COVID situation where we weren't able to print, the digital age was there, and we were already switching gears and already, changing into the digital world long before COVID ever got around.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We were doing digital publications long before COVID ever came around, but the expectation was never that we would not be doing print,
Right.
for a while. But you could even see, the 2 or 3 years leading into the whole pandemic thing, we could start to see a trend happening in the media publishing, print publishing industry, where less and less print magazines, print newspapers were being published. More and more media outlets were switching to a digital version of it, or switching to a website-based version of delivering content. Now, the question that we can ask ourselves at that point, so we are where we are now with being flagstick.com. We talk about Flagstick Golf Magazine a little bit, but it's more we talk about flagstick.com as being our digital or online brand, our online
That's our home
product.
base.
That's it. So what used to be our home base being print and everything fell underneath that. Now
Yeah.
our home base is digital and everything falls underneath that. So when we look at where we're at right now, and we look at the things that we're doing right now, everything we're doing is to deliver the widest variety of content to our audience, you know, and our audience that can you know, be upwards of, you know, 4 to 5,000 people, you know, on any given day. We can have that many visitors to
Yeah,
flagstick.com.
that's just the website. That's not
Yeah.
everything else. And I think the key thing here is that, you know, it's not always been about us. Obviously, we have to adapt, but it's about the people that we're providing the information for, our audience. And, you know, hey, I still love to read and so forth, but we also have to look of where consumers are, our own kids, our own next
Yeah.
generation, where they're, you know, they're not picking up, you know, newspapers as often, they're not picking
No.
up magazines as often, they're, you know, they're reading stuff online, they're listening to podcasts, they're getting newsletters, they're on social media. And as a result of it, in order for us to do the job that we, you know, aspire to do right from the very start, we have adapted to go into those mediums.
Yeah, and I would say this, that the generation that we're dealing with now, with our, you know, the younger generation of our audience. Now we still have, given what we do, our audience is still very, very widespread when it comes to age demographics.
Sure.
You know, I've had marketing companies, agencies that we deal with some of our clients are that ask about, you know, age demographics, you know, and I can say, you know, we can pull a lot of those statistics on a lot of different aspects of the website, not every aspect of it, but the thing that I notice more than anything is the balance of our age demographic. It's not, we're not all over 65, we're not
No.
all 25 to 40, we're not all, you know, 40 to 55
Yeah.
plus. It's, and we have the younger as well. And this goes to how we deliver that content. It's the same content, but
And the
how we
consumer,
deliver that content.
yeah, and we should say here too, it's not like we're all of a sudden changing or skewing everything towards the younger.
No, of
We
course
have
not.
to understand that, you know, just as our own habits have changed, so is our audience. So I mean, I get DMs from people that I know are 70 years old. That's how they get their, you know, they love their newsletter or they love, you know, whatever. So, you know, it's not a case of just us saying, hey, we're targeting 20-year-olds.
No,
That's not the
no, we
case. As you
don't. That's the
said,
thing. That's
yeah,
exactly it. We don't just target
no,
20-year-olds. We don't just target
right.
40-year-olds. The content that we provide is
Mhm.
out there for everybody. The
Right.
way that we provide that content is what becomes focused towards one specific age demographic over another. So wherever they're looking for their content,
Right.
so
Exactly.
i.e. TikTok, not a
Sure.
ton of 65-year-olds are on TikTok.
Right.
Not, you know, maybe we don't do Snapchat, but that's a different animal altogether.
Sure. It's
But
less public.
Facebook is not, this younger generation is not a Facebook generation.
Nope, not one bit.
But I'm still all over Facebook.
Sure, but
So
it means those are places that we have to be.
yeah.
But it's not just us. It's the overall industry and
Mhm.
how it's changed as well. And you know, traditionally, golf has been a slow sport to modify itself and to look at different mediums and, you know, moving archaically, whether it's, you know, TV contracts that are long term and so forth. I mean, yes, there's the business aspect of it that always has to be considered, but there needs to be more flexibility. And if you start to see where, you know, the numbers are rising for golf content, good or bad, because we have to understand here that, you know, just because golf content is out there, it doesn't mean it's good. There's less barrier for people to create that content, but the better content still rises to the top. There was crappy other stuff before, it just came in different ways. The good stuff, obviously, you know, the consumers kind of go towards that. And you know, when I talk to golfers now, and I because I ask all the time, you know, whether it's you know, one of our readers or a student or something, I'm always prodding and poking and finding out where do they get their information? What do they watch? Do they watch golf tournaments? What do they listen to? What podcasts are they listen to? I mean, all these trends inform us. Where do they get specific information, be it golf travel or instruction or whatever the case may be? And that really tells you kind of where things are going. And it certainly doesn't look like and no offense to a Golf Digest from 1963, but that was just a sign of the times. You didn't have any other options. And at that time we were watching, eventually in our age, if we talked the late 80s and the 90s, we were watching golf podcasts that were 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. You didn't have any early week coverage, and it was very limited. So things have changed, and we see that reflected in the numbers for broadcast forums and publications as well.
And I'll tell you this, it's a telltale sign when in 1996, 97, 98, even up into the early 2000s, when I would go to a driving range, and I would watch people on the driving range working on their golf swing. Right. And I would see people with a copy of Flagstick open to Kevin's tip, spread, sitting on the ground on the range, or having them have it in their hand, reading the tip, and then going onto their stall where their balls are and working on that, like seeing how they transferred the information that they were getting while they were practicing. And now I see the phone in their hand or clipped to something on the side of their bag facing them, and they're watching the video of a tip, not necessarily ours, but
sure.
A golf tip, and they're watching it on their phone and trying to go through the swing tip, the swing lesson on the driving range. And that in itself tells you a big chunk of how things have changed. It's like, okay, well, you used to see someone sitting there with the magazine standing up between their irons while they're reading the tip. Now you see them with a phone clamped to the side of their golf bag watching the tips. And it's like, this is the way the content, the message is being delivered.
Yeah, I don't think this is any surprise to anyone. We're not telling anybody anything that's revolutionary, but what we're just saying though is within golf as well is that when you've got people that are more familiar with a YouTube creator versus a tour player, and it does happen in certain cases. I mean, I'll throw names all the time to people of tour players, and they're like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
But I know who Good is, or
exactly. Any of the big channels and things like that. So there's a certain power that's in that, but ignoring it is not progress. Whether you're a golf course or a media person or whatever, it's having the flexibility to make the change and not just try to go back and try to put the genie back in the bottle, because it's not going back in the bottle.
Genie ain't going back in that bottle.
No, it's exactly it.
So how does this? So I guess we can talk about now
our projects.
How does this relate to us? I mean, here's the thing. First of all, over the years, we are not reactionary in anything that we do with respect to the things that we launch, the things that we try. And we've tried a lot of things that haven't worked, and we've tried a lot of things that have worked. But we've
that's learning, not failure.
We've learned. We've always been more proactive than reactive. So, I mean, back when Twitter became a thing, you were on Twitter, Flagstick was on Twitter long before Twitter was really
16 years ago.
Anything really, and it just, same with all these other platforms. But we've gotten into these platforms when we felt that we were ready to launch content that we could be consistent with. And this is one of the things that a lot of golf businesses that I've noticed, especially golf courses, make a mistake. Is that we got to get on Twitter, or we got to get on X, or we got to get on TikTok. And they go and they make a TikTok video, or they make an Instagram post, and then 20 weeks later they make another one. Okay. Yeah. So you have to be prepared that if you're going to do it, understand what it takes to do it, understand how much content you're going to need to create to do it, and the effort that's involved before you do it. Because if you're not prepared for that, then you're gonna end up embarrassing yourself by not being up to date with it all the time. So that's kind of where we're at with things, is that, you know, when we get into things, particularly this new venture, it's well thought out and well planned on going into Tuesday, which we'll talk about in a second.
Well, even before that, though, I mean,
Yeah.
think about this podcast as it is. We
Yes.
in our first, I can remember our AGM in 2009. So that's
Mhm.
15 years ago. That was our first discussion about a podcast. And of course, the concern was, okay, how do we monetize that? How do we whatever. But again, it was a case of, okay, do we have the resources to be able to do this
Yeah.
properly? And obviously that, that led into many other things. And, based on, 613 Golf Podcast, T-Talk, whatever. I mean, we're basically almost 300 podcasts into this thing when we're combined or whatever. So,
and that's there's another evolution, right?
Right.
So the other evolution was how we got to the Flagstick podcast. Okay. It wasn't, we didn't get there. We got there by you venturing with our good friend Stefan Theodorf down in Kingston, starting T-Talk. And that started as a flagstick.com sponsorship.
Sure.
With you involved and Steph involved, and that ran, and then it became
151
apparent
episodes.
That because of the content of T-Talk, that it was very different from the content of Flagstick. That Flagstick was so it became this, okay, well, you know what? I think it's important that we have sort of an arm of that in a podcast sense that is more focused on the Flagstick region. So that's why the 613 Golfer podcast was launched.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after seeing how successful the content of that was, and seeing how successful the content of T-Talk was, and given some directions that people were going in their life at the time, we decided that, hey, you know what? This is better if these two things are combined.
Sure.
And then that's how we got to Flagstick podcast, and where we're at now, where we have the mix of content that is within the region of Flagstick proper, we call it, but Flagstick proper is so big now that we still are,
we're based in Ottawa, but it's heavy Canadian. But
yes, this is where we're at, and now because of that, the YouTube channel has kind of blown up a little bit more with the content that we generate on the YouTube channel with the podcast. But we've also said on this very show that we recognize that the majority of our audience on this podcast is an audio podcast. It's not a video podcast. It's long. This is an hour-long show, sometimes longer than an hour.
Right.
People are not sitting down. We're not on TSN.
We have no expectation of that.
9 o'clock at night where everyone's sitting in and watching it on the big tube, and they're not doing that.
No.
It's a show that's listened to sometimes in its entirety, depending on the length of the drive that somebody happens to have, or it's listened to in blocks over the course of a day or a couple of days, like many podcasts are. I have a hockey podcast that I listen to all the time, but I never listen to it all at once. It's about an hour long.
I've got tons of those.
I listen to like 20 minutes of it, then I listen to 15 minutes of it, and I listen to 10 minutes of it. Eventually I get through it all, but I'm never really in the car for an hour or an hour and a half at a time. So this is sort of where we lead to, what content needs to be out there, and the total mix of what for us now we're talking about is the total mix of the content that we need to have, that is not just content, but organically created content.
Not just news,
us,
not just news.
Us.
Yeah, not just news,
exactly.
which is being created from a kind of an outside force. It's becoming more of a content creator. The cool part is that with something like flagstick.com, we have a platform, and obviously our newsletters and so forth, we have a platform that supports audio, video, social, everything. And it makes it very dynamic and allows us to take a lot of the same information and seek out or provide a medium for all the different audiences so
Yes.
that they can consume that. But that means for us, as we know, and we're going to get to here in a second, we become more content creators rather than just straight out journalists or,
Yes.
just doing news and so forth. News is exciting. It's not going to go
Sure
away.
it is.
There's always news that's important and part of it. But we also know that consumers want created content as well, which
Yes,
is
exactly.
curated content, which is
Exactly.
what we're after.
So we, we've had many discussions about the direction that we want to go with content on the website, content on the YouTube channel, content that we can publish out to social media.
Yeah.
And and we sort of talked about the avenue of golf instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this kind of came about a little bit partly because Scott, you are a PGA of Canada
Yep.
professional.
Yep.
So we have somebody within our team
Mm-hmm.
that is a pro, is a
Mm-hmm.
teaching pro, is a PGA of Canada pro, who has students, that does teach, is involved in this, has been involved in this for years, and we have a platform that we're able to get you out to the public, to our audience, through that platform under the banner of Flagstick. And that allows us to, it doesn't mean that let's be honest, it doesn't mean that it's exclusively, we're only going to do, golf instruction by Scott McLeod.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
what,
not
that's
at
not
all.
where this
No.
is going. This
No.
is taking advantage of what we have. I mean,
Sure.
it's the same thing as if we talk about golf, if we did a something on Golf Travel, or if we did something on
I mean,
equipment.
we've been creating instruction content since we started at the very
Yes, we have.
beginning.
I mean, going back to Stroke Saver days with the print version of Stroke Savers, we were involved with creating content.
The golf tip magazine. Yep.
So for us, the direction moving forward for this business is to create content for our audience through all of our platforms, flagstick.com, our YouTube channel, and our social media network. That's our goal.
Sure.
To create content, whatever that content is that we think our audience wants to see.
Yeah, and we're happy to have and we enjoy relationships with good partners that want to support that and also see the benefit of working with us to reach our audience at the same time as well, which creates some great synergies. It's a little different. I mean, we still have lots of traditional advertising opportunities, but we're also seeing our marketing partners seeking different ways
they want different, they want creative, they want new ways of reaching our audience outside of just an ad. And now we can't do this with everybody. Let's honestly, there's only so many different pieces of content and so many different features and so many different things that we can do. So there's only so many of these marketing opportunities that may be available. Timing is everything. So when it comes to this most recent project that we're working on, and I think that most people can probably guess by now that we have a marketing partnership now with Castleview Golf and Country Club. Now, this came out of our discussion about wanting to do something surrounding golf instruction.
Yeah. Because we already have contents like Ask Flagstick that we're doing that are sort of that same vein, which we're doing stuff that are general questions that are coming from a consumer. It's sponsored content. It shows up on our social media. This is basically an extension of that, really. Exactly.
So we had already talked about doing something with golf instruction. So it happened that I was in a meeting with Justin Blouin from Castleview Golf and Country Club, and we were talking about marketing, and she said, we're kind of like, want to do something different. Like, we want to do this, but we want to do something different. And it just clicked in my head that we were talking about this. And I said, well, what about this idea? And she loved it. She thought it was great. And it tied in with them redoing the hitting area on the driving range. And it's like, okay, this is golden. This is exactly what we need to do. It helps us with what we want to do. It helps them with what they want to do.
And helps our consumer.
Exactly. So
helps our golf community.
We launch officially, we'll launch on June 14th, the Flagstick Academy.
Yeah. And it's a name.
Beers and gloves and whistles and balloons popping up all over the place. So some people have already seen the little promo that I did as I was driving back from Castleview.
Yep.
And some people, I don't know if we've posted the other
Yep.
promo video yet. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's out there.
It is out there.
So don't want anybody to get too wound up about the idea that you're going to see a whole bunch of Flagstick Academy golf schools popping up all over the place. That's not what this was about. Now,
this is content. It's just a name for content.
Exactly. What Flagstick Academy evolves into over the next whatever, all I can tell you is what it's going to be over the next 24 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's all I can tell you at this point. Between now and the end of 24 weeks, we'll figure out exactly how it's been received and what we want to do moving forward into the next 24 weeks and the next 24 weeks and so on. But essentially, this is an online venture that we're doing, specifically designed for us to generate organic golf instruction content for flagstick.com that can be used on our YouTube channel and across our social media networks. These are short, 2 minutes or less golf tips. Mm-hmm. We shot all 24 of these tips out at Castleview Golf and Country Club on Tuesday of this week, and it was hot as heck.
Yeah, it was.
But we were fortunate. We had the driving range all to ourselves. We lined up everything that we wanted to do. We shot 12 tips down on the driving range, and then a bunker tip, and a bunch of chipping and pitching and putting tips up on the practice green behind the 14th green. And they're all little quick things.
Yep.
They're not big, long 10-minute discussions. Down the road, maybe we'll look at expanding some of the tips into something bigger and, some other little instruction features and things like that. But the purpose of this is the launch of the Flagstick Academy, presented by Castleview Golf and Country Club, who we've partnered with, and very excited about that partnership. I know that they are as well. Yeah, and you'll see June 14th will be the launch of the very first Flagstick Academy tip. And I'm not going to tell you what the tip is. We're just going to mix that on up there.
No, and again, this is just a progression, just like this podcast was, and everything else. And the feedback is great already. Even just the introduction video that you had, a lot of people are excited. They're like, oh, cool, and they like the fact we're not sitting on our hands waiting for the world to kind of go passing around us. I mean, and unfortunately that's what tendency.
I'm too old for that.
Well, you know what? You have to embrace it. You have to change. You have to learn. You have to adapt. You have to go forward. And we've talked about it a fair bit of learning new skills and doing new things. And that's just the way it is. And it was exciting. It was fun to do. Obviously, you go and you do it for the first time, and you're like, okay, there may be a bump here or a bump there, and you get better at it. And it's no different. And I actually thought about it the other day. I was thinking about it. You always just have to push yourself to do new things, even if they scare you a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge guy. I love doing this. I love doing shows and stuff like that, but I'm not like a huge public speaker. And last year I pushed myself to do, I did a couple of public speaking engagements and stuff like that. The more that you do it, the better you get at it. But if you never try, you're never going to get better at it. So It was enjoyable to go through and kind of film these with you and kind of go through, and hopefully they help somebody out. Again, as you said, this is not the all-encompassing, most universal, here's a big program that's going to help everybody go from being a 32 handicapper to a scratch golfer. That's not what it is.
No.
It's helpful content that you might find, tidbits that will help your game, and just an entertainment, not only instructional, educational, but entertainment as well.
Exactly. So there you have it. The changing face of golf content in the world of golf, and
including us,
including the launch of something exciting on June 14th. The Flagstick Academy is now born.
There you go.
I love it. Cool logo too. By the way, shout out to my 17-year-old son Brandon, who has, I gotta say, has designed a ton of logos lately.
Yeah, he's doing great.
He's doing great. The new logo that you see Falcon Ridge using in all their marketing this year, that was created by him.
That was him too?
That was him too. And the Flagstick Academy logo, he did that. And there's another new logo that's going to be coming out that you're probably going to see later in the summer that he did when we talk about a new potential partnership with the Ottawa Valley Golf Association on the junior side of things.
I mean, everything that I do would look like it was done with crayons. So, kudos to him because, you can only have so many skills, unfortunately.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. That's enough. That's enough for us for this week. Thank you to all of our sponsors this week: Metcalf Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, our presenting sponsor this week, TaylorMade Golf. What if the golf ball you're playing isn't the number one ball for you? Meet the all-new TP5 and TP5X from TaylorMade. Whether you prefer the softest 5-layer ball in the TP5 or the fastest that's now a half club longer in TP5X, you'll be playing a golf ball that performs like it was built just for you. Available in white, yellow, and picks. You can personalize it with my symbol. No matter which you choose, every TP5 and TP5X is designed to help your game. Head to TaylorMadeGolf.ca to find the number one ball for you. Well, I certainly do hope that you're enjoying hearing and watching us. Be sure to follow us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell to make sure you never miss a single episode of this, or you don't miss the first installment of the Flagstick Academy.
Yeah, exactly.
Get over to flagstick.com. More amazing golf content delivered every day. And subscribe to our newsletter, where you'll also find some more cool stuff 3 times a week delivered directly to your inbox. All right.
You got it.
As always, appreciate you tuning in. But until next week, I am Jeff Potter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Remember, always go for the stick.